In the 1940 Disney rendition of the film Pinocchio, there is a pretty disturbing scene where Pinocchio, along with other young boys, are encouraged to go to this amusement park called Pleasure Island. It's a place where little boys can roughhouse, smoke cigars, drink alcohol, break things, and play games all day. It's supposed to be a young boy's paradise. The catch is, every little boy that's there eventually gets turned into a donkey that's caged up and ultimately used for manual labor. They're turned into slaves. This scene in the movie has resonated with me for a long time, and maybe in another video, I'll give more thoughts on the Pinocchio story as a whole. I think it's a great story that covers the topic of manhood. But for this video, I wanted to focus on how I believe this concept of Pleasure Island is being used and has been used in our current society. I recently saw a video by Burb and Bougie where she breaks down this imaginative psychological place called Delulu Land, where a lot of us men have been led to believe exists. Here's a snippet from her video.
Patriarchy has given men the fairy tale called Delulu Land. And in Delulu Land, these men get their own mini domicile. They get themselves a servant mom, wife figure. They get themselves some children. They get themselves a home-cooked meal and everything they need to play to their emotions and take care of their needs. In Delulu Land, these men are miniature kings. I would think that they are kind of like colonizers as well because they are mining the resources of their women and children. Now, what has patriarchy done to shape these young men's minds starting at a young age is pretty crazy. They feed them a fairy tale, a delusion, hence the name Delulu Land. Now, I am actually reading a book, and it speaks to how these young boys are giving these tools, these fairy tales early on that shape their brains. And then they end up middle-aged men still living in Delulu Land. But let's take a look at this passage.
Please go check out the whole video. She does a great job of exploring this topic. Whether you call it Delulu Land, Pleasure Island, or The Matrix, there is a narrative created and pushed by a system that has no intended good for us as men or for our community. And I believe the creators of this matrix have been using this tool to negatively influence us, particularly as Black men, for centuries. A quick thought about politics that's somewhat related to this idea of Pleasure Island. Something I've learned is in this bipartisan political feud, there is always a third party, and I don't mean the independent party, that stands outside of the ring actually gaining the most from the fight. We live in a society that runs a machine that thrives off of the chaotic dysfunction of human relations. Whether the Democrats hate the Republicans or the Republicans hate the Democrats, there are some evil bigwig corporations smiling, laughing, and counting their money as good-intentioned people fight to the death over various stories they've been told. That same third party feeds the Matrix with Pleasure Island, or the Delulu Land narrative, or the system of patriarchy. This system and belief that encourages men to be terrible human beings benefits from the destruction of men and women. Men are turned into donkeys every day, and women and children are impacted by their beastly nature in response. Pleasure Island doesn't create beneficial men. It doesn't help create loving families or healthy communities for humans to grow and thrive in. It creates chaos, dysfunction, broken homes, SA victims, abandoned children, and for the Black community, sisters having their lives taken every 5.5 hours. Pleasure Island, Delulu Land, The Matrix, the Red Pill Doctrine, whatever you want to call it, is a fantasy sold to all men with cheap rewards and empty game prizes so we can be used as brute beasts in this world. And many of us have been deceived to believe that we truly win something by neglecting children, abusing our women, living in gray mediocrity, avoiding emotional maturity, weaponizing incompetence, expecting women to be Stepford wives slaves, becoming whoremongers, not serving our community, and ultimately living selfish, ego-driven lives. We're being turned into brute beasts, jackasses, when we choose to stay on Pleasure Island. Every boy and every young man is taken to Pleasure Island from a young age. We're led there by other men, by the media and entertainment, and by the patriarchal, misogynistic society we live in. There seems to be no other option for boys to become men. We're told it's just the way it's always been done. As men, we're called to be more than commodities. We're called to be loving servant leaders in our community as comprehensive and beneficial men. I don't believe we were created as animals, but reflections of the Most High, designed to live for glory and for good, called to live in vibrant excellence as beneficial men. We can't do that, though, if we don't realize we're being played by this matrix to believe lies that cause us and our community harm. We have to wake up and escape Pleasure Island. We can't stay in Delulu Land. It's destroying us, our women, our children, and our community at large. And it starts with us realizing there's more to this life than this narrative we're being told. I honestly believe the red pill ideology is actually the blue pill of the matrix. If we really want to wake up, we gotta free our minds to see a better way of living.